You're watching Joy in Our Town. I'm your host, Letitia Nesby. Today, the issue in focus is education, youth, and public safety. When you often think of young girls, vibrant young girls, you normally think of pink dolls, parties, giggling, dress up. The list of fun can go on. Sometimes it's easy to forget, though, that not every young woman is like that. There are many young women who don't have that fun things. Instead of dressing up dolls, they are dressing themselves up to get ready to go to work, to make money on the streets. Here to discuss with us Hope for Adolescent Girls is Tom Tillapaugh. He's the executive director and founder of Denver Street School. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Let's dive right in. So much to talk about. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Denver Street School is a Christian high school that I founded in 1985 for troubled kids here in Denver metro area. It's been around for 32 years, and it works with the most troubled kids in the city.
So you've had this school for 32 years, but recently you learned about something that caused you to add a major component to your school.
Yes.
Describe that to us.
Well, I learned about domestic minor sex trafficking, or
Domestic minor
domestic
sex.
means in America, our kids. Minor means underage, and sex trafficking is the selling and rape of underage American girls 12 to 17 years old.
Okay.
Maybe 11.
Well, what are the backgrounds of these girls that are in this, that come to Denver Street School, or do you have a separate academy for these girls?
I founded a separate academy. First, let me just talk about how I learned about it.
Okay.
Okay. I was actually, it's interesting. I had open heart surgery 30 years ago, and have an artificial valve in my heart 36 years ago. And I was speaking at the U.S. Capitol for the Heritage Foundation 3 years ago in 2012. I had a fever of 104. I was pounding away to all these congressmen, but I was dying inside. I got to get back to Denver. Made it back to Denver, ended up having to have a second open heart surgery to replace the valve I had before with a new valve. During the surgery, I had a stroke, and I was in a coma for 5 days. And I woke up, and my wife leaned over, saw it was 5 days later. It's weird when you get in a coma.
Okay.
Because you lose your life. And I wasn't worried. I was asleep. My wife was frantic. So she leaned over and said, "Tom, you had a stroke." And I went, my parts and pieces worked pretty good. I had to have a little bit of rehab. And I said, "Lord, you let me live. Why'd you let me live? What more do you have for me to do?" Now, remember, through the street school network, people call me all the time or email and say, "Tom, I heard you help people start Christian schools for troubled kids. I want to start one in my city. What do I do?"
Okay.
So I got this call from a woman in Florida saying, "Tom, I heard you help people start schools for troubled kids. I want to start a school for girls being recovered from sex trafficking. What do I do?" And I said, "Well, tell me about that." So she started telling me this horrible thing about all these girls. Average age of entry in America is 12 to 13 years old. And in Colorado, it's a little higher, 13 to 14. So I went on a journey of discovery to learn more about it. Went to conferences all over the country.
What did you find?
I found, one, it's gigantic in America. We always thought Thailand, India.
You think overseas?
Overseas, or girls brought in from overseas in the cargo holds of ships.
Right,
I
and
found no.
in the 18-wheelers and the trucks.
But I found out, no, this is our men selling our girls to our men. In this case of Denver.
Say that one more time. That's key.
Denver.
Our men.
Our men. In other words, men from our cities, our areas, selling girls from our cities, our areas, to men from our cities, our areas. Wow. So in Denver, it's Denver men selling Denver girls to Denver men. I'm sure some are brought in, but they don't have to bring in a lot because they get them here.
Right.
Found it, the whole process of how they coerced, forced a girl to do this, got them to do this. It's a process called grooming. Grooming is the process of, it's a guy that goes out purposely.
Let's talk about this because this is very interesting.
It is. They know, these guys are smart, and they know within 5 or 6 seconds of a conversation with the girl,
if they can prey on her,
she will go down the road with him of letting her talk to him more. They can tell right. They turn around. Short of kidnapping, there is kidnapping, but that's very rare.
Okay.
Eventually, they feel like they're kidnapped, but initially they started grooming. Grooming is just a process of a guy going up to a girl, "Hi, you're pretty. What's your name?" Start to develop a relationship. Now there's a continuum from left to right. Think about it this way. The more dysfunctional the home the girl is from, if she's getting abused at home, sexually or physically, she's in a foster home, or there's no dad in the home, which is a good male role model, there's easier groom. The easier.
So it's easier to pray.
They can have those, a runaway, they just on the corner, you look hungry, or you need a place to stay tonight? And okay, yeah, well, I got a nice place for you. So they come, and they lower the boom. They
close the door.
To close the door, and they'll with the 2 days. Well, you got to earn your keep here, and here's how you're going to do it. Here's how you will you do this?
Here's how you're going to do it.
Yeah, and they'll beat her if she resists. Beat them, rape them. Obviously, it's called a seasoning process. Multiple rapes, beatings by friends, them and friends. That's called seasoning.
Wait a minute. You said by them and friends?
All their friends, yeah.
Beating this girl.
Yeah, beating, raping. Like, how do you take a 12-year-old girl and 13-year-old girl, and that's never touched a guy before, and within a week having her have sex 6 times a night or more? That's called seasoning. So that's one end of the scale. That's quick turnaround for the more dysfunctional. More functional home, the more good dad in the home, it's a harder groom. It's a longer groom. It takes a long time.
It takes longer for her to get that little girl away from her daddy.
Yeah, well, to go off with him. And so in her mind, this guy's courting her, and he likes her.
He's dating
and dating her and take her out to dinner. They're flattered. Wow. So it's a combination of flattery, awe, beguilement, and kind of a fear and intimidation, but he works on that. I'll give you an example of a girl in Park Meadows Mall that I heard about.
Park Meadows?
Park Meadows Mall.
Nice part of town.
Yeah, nicest part. That they bring top dollar down there. 14, 15-year-old, 13-year-old girl from down south, you bet. And so he went in, and she was walking through the mall, and her grandpa told me this, and good home, and she got encountered by some guys that come down from Denver, and
flatter
her. So now there's 2 or 3 guys, this little girl, and you're talking to me. What these older guys are talking to me. That's flattering to a girl.
Oh my gosh.
There's a combination of flattery, awe, beguilement, and fear and intimidation. And they actually got that girl to go home, take all your clothes off, get in the shower naked, take pictures of herself, and send them back to us.
What?
That's what she did. Lone Tree girl, okay, or Highlands Ranch, Douglas County girl. And so she did that, and her parents knew enough to be watching out for her cell phone use, and they caught her in the middle of it.
Wow.
So that's how I found out. So anyway, I emailed my friend who's in FBI, Rocky Mountain Innocent Lost Task Force, Dan Steele, said, Dan, what is this? And he wrote back, Tom, this is a new thing they're doing in the south suburbs. It's called sextortion. Sexual extortion.
What?
And so what they'll do is they'll take that, when we were kids, it took you had to develop the film and put it in an envelope, mail it.
Now it's a cell phone.
Now it's a cell phone. You just push the button, they get it. Now they text her back and say, if you don't do what we say from now on, we're going to put this on your Facebook page. We're going to send this to your parents.
Oh, my goodness.
Down south they have a little more, I want to be a little bad girl, but I don't want anybody to know.
Right.
And so they'll say, meet us down at the corner. Now she'll leave her home, look around, mom and dad, go back to the mall or whatever, and they'll start a seasoning on her. And it's this little 13,
So they first flatter her.
Yep.
Then sextortion.
Yeah, this is one way.
Sexual
There's
extortion.
many ways to get in. This is one of them.
Wow.
Now every few nights they'll say.
And now they're seasoning her.
They season her, but then they'll say, they'll meet us down at the corner, and they drive out. They got a customer waiting somewhere, and then he rapes her. I call it rape. I don't call it anything but rape. And then they'll take her home. Now she's living in her home the whole time.
So she goes home to mom and dad.
Mom and dad. It is down in. So the parents caught this case. Now, what if they're smart enough to be watching out for a cell phone?
What if no one's watching out
for
you?
What if the parents aren't paying attention and that girl's being sextorted?
It's more and more.
And then you got to think how many girls out there are being sextorted right now. So
I'm afraid to even think about it.
It is crazy. So anyway, I learned about all this. That's just one way. A lot of times the girl does go off and the guy takes them and they're living in an apartment and sell
playing house.
Well, no, they're just living there and they're selling her out of the apartment. She's just every night, every day, being
product.
raped, being sent out to in color. You get on, everything's on the internet. Back in the old days, things were on, go down to Colfax. It was men from Boulder coming down to Colfax or Highlands Ranch, still on Colfax. With the internet nowadays, you just go on Craigslist or Backpage.com.
So what does Hope Academy do for these girls?
Well, see, what happens then, I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? I learned about, these girls are traumatized, if you can imagine, unbelievably. And so I said, Lord, what do you want me to do? How can Denver Street School be involved in this battle? And so we were praying, and Denver Probation called me one day and said, we heard you're thinking of doing something in this arena. We've sent you kids for 30 years. You did a great job. Well, you have a lot of these girls in city and county of Denver. Every county is different. And they came down and met me and said, Tom, we have all these girls. They're not getting the trauma therapy they need. Their education is right where it left off. They have no hope for their future. And that was what I was waiting to hear from God. And said, so you're saying you need somebody to, so I said, that's what I'm going to do. I want to start a special third campus of the Denver Street School, and we're going to call it Hope Academy, because you just said they have no hope. So we spent a year developing a program, not me, but people I hired, develop a program, find a place to put it, started raising funds for it, and we were able to open the summer of 2015 with Hope Academy, our new special third campus just for girls being recovered.
Awesome.
Fortunately, nowadays, the attitude toward these girls is better than it was 5 or 10 years ago. And the police and law enforcement are actively recognizing that they are victims, not criminals.
So at Hope Academy, you are mentoring these girls.
We have everything. This brochure has all the parts of pieces, equine therapy, individualized academics, tons. Every girl, we have a huge volunteer training program. If you want to be with the girls, you got to go through 20 hours of training. I thought nobody's getting 20 hours of training. 175 people have gone through the training.
To help these young women.
To be able to be with the girls. So every girl has 3 mentors. Every girl is driven to and from school every day. Lunches are brought in for them. People come in from the community to teach anything from martial arts to sewing to jewelry making.
So much.
Then tutors for the individualized. Remember, every girl's at a different place.
So Tom, tell me this. So you are transforming the lives. So we've got these girls in this very bad place. We bring them to Hope Academy with only a few moments left in our segment. Give me one transformation power in these girls. What makes the difference?
Well, Jesus Christ makes a difference. Jesus Christ is the gasoline that powers the engine for everything we do. We can set up a great program, but if you don't show them the Lord, you're going to show them, obviously the therapy, the clinical counseling, we got a wonderful woman from Denver Seminary, and the teaching and all these incredible mentors all come together, but everything points back to Christ.
Well, with these girls, how can others be involved and how can they learn more about Hope Academy?
Well, just call me at 720-299-3420 or email me at tom.tillapaugh@denverstreetschool.org, and I'll tell you but they can take the training. Obviously, we need help in every way, but and learn how to help that way. I'm trying to figure out ways to involve men, because men want to be involved. They want to go kill the guys, frankly. And so I'm trying to figure out.
But they want to help with the healing process.
Yeah,
of that young
but
woman.
we're trying to figure that out, because Hope Academy right now is women only inside.
Right.
I just passed the mail through the door to them.
Yes.
And these wonderful women are working with these girls.
Awesome, Tom. This is an amazing organization. I don't think we could spend enough time talking about Hope Academy and what your goal is and mission is to get these young women healthy and holy and happy and living those productive lives. Thank you for being here today. Amazing information. And thank you for watching Joy in Our Town. Remember, wherever you are, wherever you live, you can bring a little joy to your town. You're watching Joy in Our Town, and I'm your host, Letitia Nesby. On today, the issue in focus is homelessness and hope for homelessness. Today, you guys know, as you travel around the city, you see different people on the streets. And all of us at one time or another has thought, how did you get here? What happened to you? Here with us in studio to talk about homelessness and how we can help them is David Clifton. He is the founder and executive director for the World for Jesus International. David, welcome to the show today.
God bless you, Letitia.
God bless you, sir.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the World for Jesus International.
Well, I didn't start out with ministry, obviously, but I grew up in a rather large family. All the needs were always met. Several years after leaving my family, I went to college and was robbed of my tuition money and became homeless myself. So homelessness is a personal issue. I obviously got back on my feet and got back into college, but I made a promise to myself and to God that if I ever get in a situation where I can help others, that I would do that. So homelessness is a personal issue that has touched my heart and my life personally.
So David, how many Coloradans are one step away from being homeless?
I think anybody could be one step away from homelessness. I've heard that in the Denver metro area it could be as many as 13,000 on up. The numbers are really untold. There are homeless people that camp out under bridges all up and down Spear, all up and down Colfax, maybe in parking lots, abandoned parking lots, buildings. And homelessness is not just an issue where somebody's outside and homeless. It could be somebody that's sleeping on somebody's couch at somebody's house. They don't have a place of their own. So homelessness is pervasive and it touches all segments of society.
Many people in Colorado are homeless. Why is that? And help us to change that stereotypical idea of what we have in our head of how a person got to be that way, because I'm sure that's not why.
My personal experience with working with the homeless people and homelessness, I have found out and discovered that it has to do with family issues. Family have kicked family members out, or maybe marriages fell apart. People didn't want to go through the bitter things of divorce, so they would just leave. Also addictions, alcohol, drug use. Addictions can tear you apart from your family. Arguments, losing a job, or a sudden cataclysmic event that would take place in one's life that would cause them to be homeless all of a sudden.
You know, David, just you talking about homelessness and family issues, and you have that argument, and now whoever didn't have the stability and all the different things, now they're out. It's real key to that person just having a roof over their head, and now they're hungry. So how difficult is it to minister to these people who are homeless and they're physically hungry for shelter, hungry for food?
Well, a person is always going to be geared or steered towards the fact that they have a need. If their stomach is empty, if they're hungry, that's all they're going to think about. If they're cold, it's wintertime, they don't have a jacket, that's what they're going to think about. I have seen people that, I remember one year talking with a gentleman who was standing in line for food to come to our facility. He didn't have any shoes, and his feet were swollen and they were purple, and we didn't have shoes to fit him. So we just improvised, and we ran in and got towels, taped them to his feet until we could get the right size shoes for him. But people are always going to look to their immediate need to be taken care of first before they're open for solutions.
So when we talk about open for solutions, how open and how receptive are people to the word of Jesus Christ when they're homeless?
Well, you know, bringing in the word and bringing in Jesus himself, he would see the multitude, and even before ministering to them, he would reach out to them. He would provide the example, of course, of the miracle of the fishes and loaves. And the disciples would come to him and say, Lord, these people are hungry. So Jesus right there took care of the need. So if we see homelessness, we have people that come into our facility, the first thing that will come out of their mouth is, do you have something to eat? I need something to eat. Just the other day, we had a guy come in, and he hadn't eaten in 3 days. So we went through our walk-in cooler, we got him a sandwich, he ate the sandwich, and he was more receptive to hearing what I had to say because his immediate need was resolved.
So speaking of the gentleman who came in, sometimes Christians believe, as in different people, not only Christians, but people in society think, just go ahead and pray for them. Can prayer alleviate hunger alone?
That's a good question. I would say that prayer certainly helps, but again, reaching out and giving the tangible need for the individual, and that need is met instantly, I think then they're more open to prayer, or more open to what you have to say when that need is met right then and there.
The type of homeless demographic that you see, David, are they men, older men, young people, families? What do you typically see as homeless? Because many people around the Denver metro area, around the state, you used to see just one gentleman or one lady. Now, David, it's not uncommon to see a man, a wife, his children.
Yeah, I've seen.
You never used to see that.
No, you didn't.
Now you see that. What's the difference?
Well, now I see families. I see single mothers. I remember, this was not too long ago, a single mom came down with her 2-year-old, and she was on the street, and it just broke my heart. Mm-hmm. She had just gotten in a fight with her boyfriend, and she had nowhere to go. So we reached out with her and for her and tried to do whatever we could. By the way, one of the solutions is when you're reaching people, especially if it's a single mom or a child, you have a network of other organizations that you can contact where they deal specifically with that issue. So I would say nowadays more people, there are more families with children, and it reaches across the demographics, it reaches across all cultures. No one is not susceptible to homelessness. Everyone is. Mm-hmm. And I have met everyone that you could think of that has been homeless.
You said everyone. Give us a couple examples of what includes everyone.
I would say I've seen Spanish families that are homeless. I've seen Caucasian, African American. I've seen, we've even had Muslim families that have come to us that are homeless. Of all walks of life, even different countries, not just in this country, but we have people that have come in. And our goal is, of course, to feed them, to clothe them, like what Jesus said in Matthew 25, or 35, where he said, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was naked and you gave me clothing. We have to bring that scripture into fulfillment right now when we see people come across our path.
Now, David, as we do this segment, there is a question just burning in my heart, and then we're going to transition to the solutions. But how does the person who's driving down the street not have that predisposed disposition about what's happened to that person? Because many people say that person's homeless, or they're having a sign, or it'll say something, and many times your heart will harden. You think they're just playing you, or there's just a racket. How do people who want to help get past that initial?
Well, I think in the secular view of thinking, they have to see that it's a human being in need. And whatever they might think, well, if I give them $1, they're going to go and drink at that $1.
That's what I'm talking about right there.
Or they're going to use it for drugs. You have to get past that. If they're asking for it, give it to them. You did it out of your heart. You did it out of the goodness of your heart to help somebody else. So you have to get past that. And I know there are a lot of people out there that abuse that, and that's the way they make a living. To me, that's a hard job. Who would want to do that?
Right.
But there are people, you don't know who's genuine and who's not. So you have to go out and say, well, I can at least do this. You have to have that mindset. Roll your window down and give them something. You have food in your seat, give it.
So a couple of things. So we're going to go ahead and do what God has unctioned for us to do, and then let him take care of the rest.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, absolutely.
So life isn't so bad when you have food on your stomach, but how do you help to make sure someone's life is easier by putting food in their stomach on a normal every day? So you can feed them for the day, but what about those persons? Do they just keep coming, or do we try to put them in a program that you can get food on a consistent basis?
Well, we try to identify their need. Mm-hmm. What is their need? Are they single? Are they married? Do they have a family? How many is in their family? Are they homeless? Or are they not homeless? So we're just reaching out for the need in general. And come in, and once we identify that, then we know where to place them. Some people might come in and they need food, but they have an addiction. Mm-hmm. So they might go for that addiction as far as the food. We've actually even had people that might have taken their food to sell it to feed their addiction. Mm. So what we want to do is get them past where they're at and get them to the next step. So that might be networking with other ministries, other organizations, people that are more skilled and more equipped on taking them past just the feed syndrome.
feed
if you will.
need, huh?
Yeah, the feed need. That's
Right,
a good one.
exactly,
Yeah.
right? So how does the World for Jesus International contribute to those in our community, both physically and spiritually?
Well, spiritually, we try to find out and ascertain what their relationship with Jesus Christ is like. Maybe they were raised in a family where they never heard of Jesus or what a relationship is. Spiritually, we pray for them. We try to find out, have they been in a church? Would they like to be a part of a church or an organization, a part of a family or a structure that will support them and build them up? And then physically, what we try to do, again, some people we try to find shelter for. Some people we try to connect with another organization that it has a specific way of reaching their particular need. So we work it together. So it might be, we might work with area businesses that are looking for people to work and then plug them in that specific business, or somebody that needs a spiritual family, so we reach out there more and then provide their physical needs, of course.
So meeting the physical and the spiritual, you do this every November. Tell us about your Thanksgiving outreach.
Well, every November, on the second Saturday of November, every year, we garner together area businesses, area churches, volunteers, people that want to give a hot Thanksgiving meal to the homeless, to the needy, to anyone that wants a Thanksgiving meal or may not have somewhere to go. It's not on Thanksgiving Day, but it is on the second Saturday of November. So we get out the door early and we collect turkeys and food and jackets and toiletry items. We get people together that cut hair, people that sing, people that like to minister, people that just want to walk up and down the line and shake somebody's hand and say, hey, we're glad you're here. We want to help you. How can we help you? And then we gather that all together. I think the first year, Letitia, we had 7 turkeys, 7 volunteers, and 250 guys showed up.
And now where are you?
Now we're in the thousands. I can't even count it. I lose count. And maybe upwards to 1,000 volunteers and hundreds of turkeys. And we have the help of area ministries and organizations and people and families and businesses and churches that come together and say, hey, let's set aside our identity. Let's put Jesus up there in the forefront, and let's feed these folks and do something together for the common good.
How can viewers get a hold of you? How can viewers help with the Denver Jesus for the World?
Well, they can contact us through our website, which is theworldforjesus.net, or they can call us at our ministry, which is directly 303-893-8363. Or they could write us, which is P.O. Box 140340, Edgewater, Colorado, 80214.
Wonderful. Thank you, David, for joining us on the show today. And thank you for watching. I'm your host, Letitia Nesby. Remember, wherever you live, wherever you are, make it and bring a little joy to your town. Have a great day.